In the chaotic year of 238 AD, Rome was tearing itself apart. Emperors rose and fell like dominoes, and the streets of the capital ran with the blood of praetorians and citizens alike, and the vast empire teetered on the brink of total collapse. It was the infamous Year of the Six Emperors, a time of utter despair. But from the ashes of this turmoil, a flicker of hope emerged, embodied by a figure no one expected, a 13-year-old boy. This is the story of Gordian III, the boy who inherited a broken world and for a brief, shining moment seemed destined to save it. Imagine the scene. The Roman Senate, weary of bloodshed and betrayal, and the legions, tired of kingmakers and civil war, found a single point of unity. They rallied behind young Marcus Antonius Gordianus, the grandson and nephew of the recently fallen emperors Gordian I and II. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the political and military hearts of Rome beat as one. A wave of relief washed over the empire. People looked at this young, innocent face and dared to believe that the long nightmare was finally over. The era of the barracks emperors, where generals seized power with the sword, seemed to be at an end. The early years of Gordian's reign were a period of calm and consolidation. The real power, of course, wasn't in the hands of a teenager. It was wielded by a council of wise senators, most notably a man named Timesitheus. He was a brilliant administrator and strategist, a man of integrity who became not just Gordian's Praetorian prefect, but also his father-in-law. With Timesitheus guiding the state and mentoring the young emperor, Rome began to heal. New laws were passed to curb corruption. The currency was stabilized, and the provinces, neglected during the civil wars, received much-needed attention. It felt like a return to the Golden Age. Peace settled over the land, and the future looked bright. But in the vast, sun-scorched lands to the east, a storm was gathering, a threat far greater than any internal squabble. The old Parthian Empire, a rival to Rome for centuries, had crumbled. In its place rose a new, revitalized Persian dynasty, the Sassanids. Their king, Ardashir I, was ambitious, but it was his son, Shapur I, who truly embodied this new Persian power. Shapur was a military genius, a devout Zoroastrian, and a king who dreamed of restoring the ancient glory of Persia. He saw the Roman Empire, weakened by its internal conflicts, as ripe for the picking. In 241 AD, Shapur launched a massive invasion, storming across the Euphrates River, capturing Roman cities, and shattering the legions meant to defend the eastern frontier. The news hit Rome like a thunderclap. The peace was shattered. The empire was once again at war, facing an enemy more organized and determined than any it had faced in generations. The moment of truth had arrived. In 243 AD, the Roman war machine, meticulously prepared by Timesitheus, rolled east. At its head was the young Emperor Gordian III, now a man of 19. He was no longer just a symbol, he was the commander-in-chief, ready to lead his legions in person. The army he led was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't a civil war of Roman against Roman. This was a fight for the survival of the empire itself against a foreign invader. Morale soared. They were fighting for their emperor, for their homes, for Rome. And the victories came, fast and hard. The Roman legions, under the brilliant command of Timesitheus and the inspiring presence of Gordian, met the Sassanid army and crushed them. The pivotal Battle of Ricena was a stunning triumph for Rome. Shapur's forces were routed, and the Romans recaptured the cities that had fallen. The path to the Persian capital, Ctesiphon, lay open. The news raced back to Rome, igniting wild celebrations. The boy emperor had become a conquering hero. It seemed that Rome had found its new Alexander, its new Trajan. The empire believed again. The dark times were truly over, and a new era of glory was being forged in the sands of Mesopotamia. But fate is a cruel mistress. As the army advanced deeper into enemy territory, disaster struck. The brilliant strategist, the steady hand guiding the campaign, Timesitheus, suddenly fell ill and died. The official cause was a disease, but whispers and rumors, which have echoed through history, suggest a more sinister plot. Had he been poisoned? Perhaps by a rival hungry for his position. We may never know for sure, but his death left a catastrophic vacuum of leadership. In his place rose a man named Philip, an ambitious equestrian from Arabia, he was now the new Praetorian prefect, the emperor's right-hand man. But unlike Timesitheus, Philip's loyalty was questionable and his ambition was boundless. The army's momentum stalled. The supply lines, once expertly managed, became stretched and vulnerable. The spirit of the campaign began to sour. The final act of this tragedy unfolded near the city of Mysicae, not far from modern-day Fallujah. Here, the Roman army clashed with the reinvigorated Persians under Shapur-Warun. The Roman sources are strangely silent or conflicting about what happened next, a sign that something shameful occurred. The Persian accounts, however, carved into rock for all eternity, tell a different story. They claim a great battle was fought, and that Gordian himself was slain. Other Roman historians suggest something far darker. That Philip, seeing his chance, either engineered the defeat or simply took advantage of the chaos, turning the disgruntled and starving soldiers against their young emperor. Whether he fell in battle or was murdered by his own men at the behest of his second-in-command, the result was the same. In the desolate heart of the desert, the light of the empire went out once more. Gordian III, the boy who had carried the hopes of a world on his shoulders, was dead at the age of just 19. His reign, which had begun with such promise and unity, ended in betrayal and darkness. The man who benefited most, Philip, was immediately proclaimed emperor by the army. He quickly made a humiliating peace with Shapur, paying a massive indemnity and abandoning Roman territory. He would be known to history as Philip the Arab. The brief, hopeful dawn of Gordian's reign gave way to another long twilight struggle. The crisis of the 3rd century was far from over. Gordian's story serves as a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly hope can turn to tragedy, and how even the brightest lights can be extinguished by ambition and the unforgiving winds of fate. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Gordian III is one of the great what-ifs of Roman history. What if Timesitheus hadn't died? Could this boy emperor have truly saved the empire? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll see you next time.